All right, welcome back. Today we are tackling something that, believe it or not, has gotten way harder than it should be, buying a new monitor. We're going to decode all those crazy specs so you can finally make a choice you feel great about. Let's jump in.
You know the feeling, right? You walk into a store or browse online, and you just get hit with this wall of screens, all yelling these codes at you. 144 Hz, IPS, 1 millisecond, HDR 400, sRGB 99%. It feels like you need a secret decoder ring just to figure out what you're buying. It's for engineers, not for the rest of us.
And you know what? You're not crazy for feeling that way. It's absolutely true. The source material we're digging into today says it perfectly. With so many options and so much technical jargon, it's just paralyzing. But hey, that's exactly why we're here, to fix that.
So our mission today is pretty simple. We are going to turn all of that confusion into confidence. We're going to break down what all those numbers and letters actually mean for you so you know what's important, and more importantly, what's just marketing hype you can totally ignore.
Okay, before we dive into a single spec, IPS, Hertz, any of it, there is one huge, fundamental question you have to answer first.
So what is your mission? What's the main thing you're going to be doing on this screen? Our sources are really clear on this. The biggest mistake people make is looking for that one perfect monitor for everything. Newsflash, it doesn't exist. Every single monitor is a series of trade-offs. The whole secret is just finding the right set of trade-offs for you.
And really, we can kind of boil it down to these main groups. Are you someone who's staring at text and spreadsheets all day for work? Are you a competitive gamer trying to get every possible edge? Maybe you're a creative pro who lives and dies by color accuracy. Or hey, maybe you just want an amazing screen for kicking back and watching movies. Your answer changes everything.
And this just shows you how wildly different those priorities are. For office work, you absolutely need sharp text so your eyes don't get tired, and ergonomics, like a stand you can adjust. That's about your long-term health, not a luxury. But for a gamer, it's all about pure speed, a high refresh rate for buttery smooth motion, and a crazy low response time to kill any blur. Totally different worlds.
All right, so once you've got your mission locked in, we can move on to the first big technical decision. And this one's a biggie. It's the relationship between how big the screen is and how sharp it looks.
And what's really cool is that our sources point to what they call the golden mean, or the sweet spot for most people right now. And that is a 27-inch screen running at a 1440p resolution, sometimes called QHD. This combo just hits the perfect balance. You get super sharp text, tons of space to work with, and you don't have to mess with any weird scaling settings in your operating system. It just works.
But here is a huge, flashing red warning sign. Please avoid buying a 27-inch monitor that only has a 1080p resolution. On a screen that big, 1080p just isn't enough. You can literally see the individual pixels. It makes everything look kind of grainy and text gets all blurry. Trust me, it's a recipe for instant buyer's remorse.
Okay, next up is what our sources call the soul of the monitor. And I love that because this choice affects the look and feel, the whole vibe of the image more than pretty much anything else. We're talking about panel technology. Now there's an older tech called TN that you can pretty much ignore these days. So your choice really comes down to three main flavors: IPS, VA, and OLED. And each one has its own distinct personality that's built for a different kind of user.
So let's run through them. First up is IPS. Think of this as the safe, do-it-all choice. It has fantastic, accurate colors, which makes it perfect for creative work and just general office stuff. Its main weakness? The contrast isn't amazing, so black can sometimes look a little bit like dark gray. Then you've got VA, the contrast king. These panels give you blacks that are like 3 times deeper than IPS, which is incredible for watching movies. The trade-off? The pixels can be a little slower, which sometimes creates a tiny bit of motion blur or ghosting. And finally, you have OLED. This is the top-tier premium stuff. You get perfect, truly infinite contrast because each pixel can turn completely off. Response times are instant, so what's the catch? Well, it's expensive, and there is a long-term risk of screen burn-in if you leave static images on screen for too long.
All right, now for my favorite part. Let's talk about the marketing traps. We're going to arm you against the most common, most misleading specs that manufacturers love to slap on the box.
First, refresh rate, which is measured in hertz. For years, 60 hertz was the standard, but the jump from 60 to 144 hertz is night and day. Seriously, everybody can see it. Even just moving your mouse or scrolling a website feels unbelievably smooth. That's why 144 hertz is the new sweet spot. Now you can go higher to 240 hertz or more, but the difference gets way, way smaller. That's really just for pro esports gamers.
Next up is that magical 1 millisecond response time you see everywhere. Okay, this is probably one of the biggest fibs in monitor marketing.
Why? Because they get that number in some weird, perfect scenario lab test that doesn't reflect real life at all. Here's what actually matters. You just don't want to see ugly motion blur. So when you're looking at reviews, look for actual tests of pixel response. Honestly, any monitor with a real-world response time under 5 milliseconds is going to be fantastic for almost everyone.
And now, for the biggest trap of all, HDR. This picture says it all. On the left, you've got what I call sticker HDR. The image just looks kind of bright and washed out. But on the right, that's real HDR. You get those incredible highlights and deep shadows. The secret? It's a technology called local dimming. That's where the backlight of the screen is divided into zones that can get darker or brighter independently. You either need that or an OLED panel to get HDR that actually looks good.
So let's just make this a super simple, unbreakable rule. If you look at the specs and you don't see any mention of local dimming zones, or if it's not an OLED panel, then that HDR sticker on the box is pure marketing. It is absolutely not a feature that you should pay a single extra dollar for. Period.
Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's boil it all down into a simple, final checklist you can take with you. These are your 5 golden rules for buying a monitor.
Number 1, define your priority. Stop looking for that mythical do-everything monitor. 2, go for the sweet spot, 27 inches, 1440p resolution. It's the best bang for your buck. 3, if you're really not sure, an IPS panel is the safest all-around bet. 4, ignore the hype. Don't trust those 1ms and HDR 400 stickers. Read and watch independent reviews instead. And 5, and this is so important, ergonomics is health. A height-adjustable stand is a necessity, not a luxury. So there they are again. Write these down, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. If you just follow these 5 simple rules, you will cut through all that marketing noise and find a monitor that you are going to love for years. And I just want to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Think about it. We spend more of our waking hours looking at our monitor than pretty much anything else we own. We'll drop $1,000 on a new phone without blinking, but then we treat our main screen like it's some cheap accessory. When you consider how much it impacts our work, our fun, and even our physical health, maybe it's time we started thinking about a great monitor as a real investment in our own well-being. That's a wrap on this explainer. If you want to go even deeper and check out some specific models that get the stamp of approval, make sure you read the original super detailed guides over at TechFokus. Thanks so much for watching.